Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Oh, really?
Great lineup of speakers for you today at this rally representing the Berkeley Encampment on campus as well as organized labor on campus. All on campus labor. Before I bring up our speakers, I just want to say a few words. We are here in solidarity with working people across the world, including in Palestine, in solidarity with our own students and comrades on this campus and across the country, taking a stand against injustice, and first and foremost in solidarity with the Palestinian people. It is truly a historic time to be at a university. We receive empty words about care, belonging, diversity, equity, and inclusion, mixed with violent and corrosive practices of control and discipline. University deans walking snipers to the roofs of admin buildings to target their own students. Shame! University presidents bringing the full violence of the police down on their students and faculty. When mobs attack campus, as happened at UCLA last night, university administrations do nothing to protect the campus community. And the pervasive climate of intimidation and fear surrounding anti-war and anti-genocide protest and speech. As faculty, we have not just a right, but an obligation to speak out, to learn from, support, and protect our students, and to uplift their demands. The administration also has an obligation, but I'm not going to listen to that. We cannot stand by while hundreds of our colleagues in Gaza have been murdered and the entire educational system in Gaza destroyed. We cannot stand by while ours and so many universities invest in the destruction of the climate and of human life. Dozens and dozens of student bodies across this country have voted with overwhelming majorities to divest from war and genocide. So why can't we, as faculty, follow their lead? While out of touch, admin sent us messages about protests blocking students' learning.
Shame.
Also shame, yes. It has been beautiful to see how the students and comrades in this encampment and in the encampments across this country are making education for themselves on their own terms, with teaching, with reading, with special groups, and with film screenings. The encampments are the continuation and the elevation of education, not the disruption of education.
Yeah.
They embody the love of learning in the service of justice, community building, and international solidarity. As faculty, especially when the university represses and censors us from teaching about the truth and about justice, we must support that.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to pass it off to the first of our speakers. Please help me welcome, where is he? Yusuf, one of our brilliant undergrads holding it down in the encampment.
Hell yeah!
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Long time no see. Hind Rajab was a 6-year-old girl in Gaza. For 3.5 hours on January 29th, her cell phone was the closest thing she had to a lifeline while she was alone in the backseat of her car outside of a gas station. She'd been drifting in and out of consciousness. She was surrounded by bodies, and Israeli tanks were approaching. but she still managed to use her cell phone to call for emergency dispatches. From the operations room of the Palestine Red Crescent Society, roughly 50 miles away in Ramallah, the team on duty sent paramedics who were on the way, and at the same time, dispatchers were on the phone with Hind. They were reciting the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, and they kept telling her, hold on, hold on. The cell phone recording call was captured, and it's now on the internet for all to see. I don't need to tell you all how the story ends. A part of me agrees with the notion that it's undeniably powerful and effective to tell you all stories like Hind's, where we see and hear the violence firsthand. But why does it have to be like this? I think it's weird and uncomfortable for me having to share these stories just to get you to engage. When Palestinians have had to hear these narratives firsthand since October 7th, firsthand since 1967 when Israel first began its occupation of Gaza, firsthand since 1948 when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were first expelled from their land in the Nakba. People often ask us why we're out here, but that's the wrong question. I ask myself, why wasn't I here before? Why aren't you all here? This encampment should have been up months ago, years ago. And I and all of ourselves should be ashamed of the fact to admit our ignorance, because the more of us that are silent on this genocide, the more Palestinians have to die. So when we set up these camps, it's not about us. It's not about these steps, what they represent. It's not even about this university. The people of Gaza aren't suffering for us and the media to worry about how these universities might respond to all of these encampments. I promise you all the real allies in these encampments are here for Palestine and Palestine only. We actualize our support for Palestine with the demands that are behind me right here. First and foremost, we want to end the silence on the genocide. It's been 207 days since October 7th, and the chancellor and other university officials continue to both sides and tiptoe their way around these conversations. Some people aren't even willing to call this a genocide, and not calling it what it is complicity in it by itself already. Shame. Second is financial divestment. The university must immediately and disclose all of the UC's financial holdings from corporations that enable and profit off of Israel's genocidal campaign in accordance with BDS. Third is an academic boycott. This university must completely sever ties and academic collaborations with all Israeli universities. We have global internship programs that send students to Tel Aviv every year. And the establishment of programs like these is an acknowledgement of a genocidal state, and that's a problem. That's not right. Last but not least, we want to stop the academic repression. We need to enact policies that protect the safety and academic freedoms of Palestinian students and their allies. This includes the establishment of a permanent Palestinian studies program. This demand also applies on the other side. Early in the semester, Zionist student groups invited the so-called son of Hamas, who has said, and I quote, he prefers a single cow over 1.6 billion Muslims. At the same time, they invited an IDF soldier who was in Gaza in October, who has said, and I quote, every school, mosque, hospital, kindergarten, all, without exception, are terror camps. And when asked to condemn Islamophobia, the chancellor herself deflected and never responded. But this is all part of Israel's genocidal campaign. I like to think of Zionism like a many-headed beast. Of course, the biggest head is anti-Palestinian racism and the genocidal campaign of Palestinians. But some of its other heads include white supremacy, the police state, anti-blackness, and so on and so forth. So when we take on this university, we're calling out all of these forms of institutionalized Zionism. And we'll continue to be out here. Right now officially marks the start of day 10 of this encampment. And we'll be out here for another 10 days, another 10 days after that, another 10 days after that, if that's what it takes. It took this university 14 years to divest from South African apartheid. So if it takes us 14 years of doing stuff like this, we'll be here. I promise to the current Chancellor, Carol Christ, and the new guy. Oh, no. We will be a headache. We will continue to disrupt. We'll continue to disrupt because business should not go on as usual. Israel's genocidal campaign against the Palestinians has continued to show us that Zionists have no limits. But we're limitless too. We know that the time to act and fight this genocide is now. We will not budge from divestment, and we will not wait until Palestinians become a land acknowledgement in administrators' emails. We will take back our campus, and we will divest. For Palestine, we must fight. For Gaza, we must win. For all of us, and the beginning, and because of the Palestinian resistance, we will win. Glory to the Lord, glory to the noble resistance, and glory to all the people.
Iris, a representative from our local 4811 Union of Academic Researchers and Postdocs, for an important announcement.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
Hello everyone, my name is Iris. I'm a grad student instructor in the math department here at UC Berkeley. And a head steward of UAW Local 4811. We are deeply disturbed that management at UCLA, University of Southern California, and Columbia have either used force or allowed violent force to be used against students and union members exercising their right to protest the genocide in Gaza. We are calling now on management to de-escalate and negotiate with protesters over our urgent moral concerns, which UAW 4811 members voted resoundingly in January to support. And that's why I'm announcing that today, our executive board has called a strike vote as early as next week. To authorize our leadership to call a strike in the event that management continues to violate and create an unsafe working environment for workers and an unsafe learning environment for students. The status quo can't go on like this. We need to be escalating, and that's why our union is putting all of our weight behind the current movement and calling a strike vote to authorize leadership to call a strike in the event that management continues to escalate in this way and refuses to negotiate with protesters. Thank you all.
Right, next up, give it up for Banan, one of the brilliant graduate students holding it down in the encampment.
السلام على شعب فلسطين المقاوم، والسلام على المقاومة الشريفة، والسلام على شهدائنا التي ستحلق أرواحهم فوق القدس الحرة الشريفة، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
Peace be upon the Palestinian people, whose sheer existence is resistance. Peace be upon our noble Palestinian resistance, who have taught us to fight for what is rightfully ours. And peace be upon our martyrs, whose souls will one day soar free over Jerusalem, a liberated Jerusalem, cleansed from the defilement of their murderers. And peace be upon you for coming here today to honor our dead and fight for our living. The union calling a strike did not happen in a vacuum. UCLA did not happen in a vacuum. This encampment did not happen in a vacuum. It is rooted and anchored in the murders we have been watching day in and day out, streaming of our loved ones. People who look, speak, believe, and feel in the very same ways we do, but have been determined by the powers that be that they do not deserve the same lives we live. And not only do they not deserve the lives we live, but they deserve to be killed by our money, whether through our taxpayers, whether through our donors, whether through our institutions and our universities. A strike is huge, an encampment is huge, but it is not happening in its own. It is happening because every day people have chosen to wake up and decide that truth, liberation, and justice is our compass. This is the 10th day of our encampment, but it is not the last day of our encampment. And despite, in spite, and regardless of the UC and University of California's attempt to scare all of us, to shut it down, scare students across the world, to shut down their schools like they're doing like they did in Columbia, like they're doing in UCLA. The Zionist agitators in UCLA yesterday, they have been the same ones who decided and just tried to scare us at Sather Gate with Liberate the Gate. It is the same people who are trying to spread lies about why we are here, trying to take over a narrative that everyone here and who stands here today and everyone who has decided to put their bodies and stay in tents to honor our people in Gaza and to honor the Palestinians and to fight against the Palestinian genocide. We all know the truth, that love liberates us all and Palestine will free us all. Long live the Palestinian people and long live the Palestinian resistance.
Give it up next for Michael Mark Cohn, Associate Teaching Professor in American Studies and African American Studies.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. This is a really special showing. I'm proud of all of us for turning out in such numbers today. I want to thank the brave student and community members who have built this fantastic stage. And I want to thank the organizers at the encampment who've agreed to share their microphone with us for this hour or so, however long we're here. It is necessary for us to speak of Palestine on this May Day, just as it is necessary for us to speak of May Day at this Gaza Solidarity Encampment. On this May Day, and around the Bay, as around the world, there will be workers' demonstrations in solidarity with the people of Gaza. We are here to answer the call made by the Palestinian General Federation of Trade Unions for workers and students to strike today for the liberation of Palestine. This is a solidarity rally. We are here because May Day is an international holiday, colored in green and red, dedicated equally to the sustenance and rebirth of the natural commons and to the global workers' movement called to unite in struggle. But what most people don't know is that May Day, this holiday, is of American origin. May 1st, 1886 was to be the first day of the Great Uprising to win the 8-hour day, meaning that the working day would be limited by law so that those who earn wages would have the freedom and leisure to live, love, and organize. Centered in Chicago, the Great Uprising turned violent when police and private security guards killed several striking workers, leading local radicals to organize a rally on May 4th in the Haymarket Square. At that rally, a line of hundreds of Chicago police attacked the crowd before a bomb was thrown into the police lines. All hell broke loose. Several people died. And excuse me, I get nervous up here. I've done this before. This is my first time on these steps. It's like shaking like a leaf up here. All right, I love you. Thank you. All right. Okay, so all hell broke loose. And several people died, and the nation's capitalists and police used this act of insurrectionary resistance to break the strike before arresting and eventually executing 4 of the city's most prominent anarchist leaders in a sham trial. It was guilt by association. It was an act of collective punishment, a legal conspiracy theory fed by this capitalist counter-revolution against the workers' rights. Yet out of this tragedy, an international workers' movement in solidarity with the Haymarket martyrs grew around the world, from Mexico to Russia and Japan and beyond, flourishing into the celebration of organized resistance that May Day marks today. A celebration that remains, I would mind you, widely banned in the United States. Today is officially Law Day or Loyalty Day in the United States. Good time. In this light, it might seem odd to speak of the faculty as workers. After all, we are an eccentrically individualist bunch, happily contained and within and divided by our disciplining epistemologies, quieted by the sheer volume of time we each must spend in silence and alone to do our work. Yet ask yourselves, what is it that makes this university work? If we, the faculty, did not show up to our classrooms and laboratories, this place would stop. Our work makes Cal work. And in this, we faculty have far more in common with the janitorial and food service workers, the clerical and technical staff, let alone the librarians, postdocs, lecturers, and grad students than we do with the administration and board of regents. Indeed, we have much more in common with the teachers at Berkeley High School who are under attack for teaching Palestine than we do with anybody in California. And since our work makes Cal work, and we lack union representation, at least at this point, joining together with these students is not just an act of solidarity, it is an act of self-defense. Only together can we defend the rights of free speech and assembly that we actually need to use, and use bravely, and not just hold privately in reserve, behind safe behind glass for that moment when we might need to break it and use it. Woo! Today is that day, my friends. It is use it or lose it time, and tenure alone, for those lucky enough to have it, will not protect you. Academia in every field, to say nothing of K-12 education, is under attack like never before. From Ron DeSantis' Florida to Columbia University, free speech and academic freedom are facing an extinction-level threat from a rising tide of fascist stupidity. The glass is already broken, yet in our isolation, many of us cannot hear the alarm. Why is it that the faculty at Columbia and NYU and Emory and elsewhere had to watch their students be beaten and arrested and expelled before they showed up in numbers? Will we make the same mistake? What will we do when Alameda County sheriffs, fresh from their victory over People's Park, invade Sproul Plaza? The meaning of solidarity is that our freedom is bound up in theirs. My freedom is bound up in yours. What is our freedom of speech if we fail to use it? What is our academic freedom if the staff and students have none? Most of us know better. Across American history, student movements have always been opposed by campus administrators, belittled by the mainstream media, attacked by the police, and hated by the gerontocratic plutocracy that governs this nation. And yet these student movements have always been right. And they will soon be venerated by the same institutions that attempted to destroy them. And so we ask you to join the FSJP and join us at the encampment, and not just on behalf of our students, but for ourselves and the freedom that we need and that they are currently fighting for by putting their bodies upon the gears and the wheels and the levers of the apparatus to demand boycott and divestment. Lastly, because it is always necessary while building an international solidarity struggle to center Gaza and Palestine, we in the faculty must speak up for justice, the justice and necessity of the students' demands. Boycott and divestment are just and necessary because of what the United Nations has described as a scholasticide in Gaza. More than 35,000 people killed, and that's just merely the official number. There have been more than 350 of the dead are our fellow professors and teachers. More than 5,800 of our fellow students have been killed. More than 600,000 Palestinian students in Gaza and the West Bank are currently unable to continue their education. And all 11 of the colleges and universities in Gaza have been deliberately destroyed, razed by American manufactured bombs. All this while the despotic Israeli prime minister demands that the United States crack down on nonviolent student movements. Is it not too much to say that they imagine for us what they have done to universities in Gaza? And so on this May Day, on this hollow ground, we ask for your solidarity with the people of Gaza, with your fellow campus workers, with faculty and justice in Palestine, and with the students you see assembled before you who are putting their lives and their futures on the line to educate all of us about the moral stakes of this present crisis. I thank you, and free Palestine.
Thanks, everybody. Give it up for yourselves. Please join us in Faculty for Justice in Palestine, Faculty and Staff for Justice in Palestine.
Next up, please help me welcome Alex, a staff member from the Lawrence Hall of Science.
Hello, can y'all hear me? Cool. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm a staff member here at UC Berkeley whose focus is researching and evaluating STEM/science education. I'm also a FEM-presenting child of Mexican immigrants who studied biology in undergrad. I mention this because I was very much a part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives to bring in and keep more BIPOC in the Western sciences. Many of us come into the academy with a vision of science that makes life better for everyone, but especially for those at the margins. But the science valued and upheld by academic institutions like Berkeley often does not teach us to think critically about who truly benefits from our knowledge, our labor, and our creativity. Instead, we are shoved into a pipeline that feeds young scientists of color into the racist, capitalist U.S. war machine through NSF grants co-funded by the Department of Defense. And when we leave these institutions, the work that allows us to support our families and to pay rent are found in companies like Google, Amazon, and Lockheed Martin, who are active participants in the genocide of Palestinians through the provision of artificial intelligence, cloud computing infrastructure, fighter jets, and missiles. Western science and Western academic institutions teach scientists of color how to be tools of empire, to collude in the colonization and oppression of our own people, but also communities of color around the globe, whether we're aware of it or not. Even if you are one of the lucky few in STEM whose work doesn't contribute directly to the genocide of Palestinians, our complicity is still inescapable through our tax dollars that are funneled into the US military aid for Israel. But just as US science is tied with Palestine, the science weaponized against Palestinians is used against communities of color here. From the Elbit surveillance systems at the apartheid wall to the Thana Atham reservation near the US-Mexico border. For years, the Los Angeles Police Department has been using surveillance software, cobweb technologies, that uses supposedly unbiased AI for predictive policing in urban neighborhoods. It is these connections between my loved ones and comrades on Turtle Island and the Palestinians that brings me here today. As workers within the academic industrial complex and practitioners of science, we must reconcile with how Western science has been used to subjugate and kill thousands of Palestinians for more than a century, even if our fields do not directly contribute. I asked staff and faculty to interrogate the ways we as STEM workers contribute to systems and infrastructures of war, white supremacy, violence, and genocide. For science educators and other researchers like me who study science education, we must be able to identify and reject learning environments that use language of inclusion, justice, and liberation to hide the imperial and colonial logics in what we teach the next generation of scientists. And then we must engage in a science that recognizes that the liberation of Palestine is deeply intertwined with the liberation of all oppressed groups. We must support these students. This encampment and its demands to end the silence, to sever ties with Israel, and to protect Palestinians and those who speak out against genocide. So join me, my fellow STEM workers, in saying that we will not be complicit, we will not be silent, and that enough is enough. From Palestine to Mexico, these border walls have got to go.
These border walls have got to go.
From Palestine to Mexico,
From Palestine to Mexico.
these border walls have got to go.
These border walls have got to go.
From Palestine to the Philippines,
From Palestine to the Philippines.
stop the U.S. war machine.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
From Palestine to the Philippines,
From Palestine to the Philippines.
stop the U.S. war machine.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
Free Palestine. Thank you.
So if you all remember the 1960s, I was there, when there was a bunch of movements on this campus that the administration shut down brutally, right? Then Governor Ronald Reagan sent the National Guard onto this campus. There was helicopters flying next to the Campanile dropping tear gas, right? Do you remember the Third World Liberation Front? Well, a couple representatives from them are here today to celebrate. Oh, yeah!
strikers. I don't think that's the last time. 1969. 2009. 2007. in 1969, before we had even ethnic studies, and by the way, we weren't demanding an ethnic studies department, we were demanding a third world college. There's not things like what's happening now. So it's even more on their fault that this is happening again 55 years after we asked for a third world college. And so, what she told me when I appealed their denial for an Asian studies major, an individual studies major, she said no, because Asian studies and a third world college and ethnic studies is quote unquote irrelevant. How relevant it is it now? You know what we called her back then? I think you guys could easily take this from us if you want. Carl Christ is the anti-TWLF Christ. You know, we strikers like you, when we first came here as young students, we were so eager to learn. And hell yeah, like you, did we learn. Not just what the university wanted us to learn, but even more importantly, what they didn't want us to learn. Like how they were using our tuition money back then in the 1960s to develop weapons of mass destruction, like Agent Orange, that they dropped on our fellow human beings in Southeast Asia. And how they recruited us so-called minorities, who we learned are actually the majority in the rest of the world, just to be a brain drain from our communities and train us into becoming their useful Uncle Toms. And then, like their father of the atomic bomb developed, hey, guess where? Robert Oppenheimer, who later said, after murdering hundreds of thousands of mostly Japanese civilians during World War II,
Hey, fuck Oppenheimer!
I am become death. And that's what we really learned about the university's ID. I become death. This is a death machine. This university's true mission is training us to become part of their death machine. To keep them empowered over those uppity, how dare they, those uppity third world peoples especially, but all peoples fighting for liberation. And so, we learn, like Oppenheimer, are we going to continue? Are we going to become their, stay on our knees? No! And use our education, our higher education, to better our own lives? Not that there's anything wrong with that. But when you've got all these people dying under your money, with your money, whether you like it or not, when they are deciding in a so-called public university what to do with our funds, when you see even their polls now show the majority of Americans are opposed to what they're doing, they do still go against that. Because all the big talk about democracy is just that. I think our native friends had the right word in summing up how to take their words. Speaks with forked tongue. But you know what? We're all part of another tradition, a much greater tradition. The tradition of the masses are the true people who make history. History is not made by great white men. Let us hear the voices from Nagasaki to Hiroshima to Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, and now in Gaza. As we have learned through all our struggles, the people united will never be defeated. Don't let them
All right, there we go. Can we get some El Pueblo Unido going? El Pueblo Unido. El Pueblo Unido. Jamás será vencido. Unido. Jamás será vencido. Unido. Jamás será vencido. Just a quick note, if any of you are interested in connecting with us at FSJP, Faculty and Staff for Justice in Palestine, a couple of our colleagues are tabling right here next to the rally, so please approach them and get connected. Next up, please help me welcome James Vernon, Professor of History and Co-Chair of the Berkeley Faculty Association.
Wow, this is really amazing. I want all the faculty here to raise your hand and make a noise. Let's see it. Take a look around you. Remember this moment. This is a historic occasion.
Yes.
This encampment, like all the encampments around the UC and all the encampments around California and all the 90-odd encampments around the United States. 120 today. This is part of an unprecedented national and international movement. Students around the country and around the world are courageously expressing their support for a people who have been bombed and starved out of existence. Amidst the carnage in Gaza, amidst the genocide, 7 universities have been destroyed. But universities can't be bombed out of existence. Nor can they be cowered by the new McCarthyism that is sweeping across this land. Universities cannot be controlled by governments. They cannot be controlled by congressional committees. They cannot be controlled by regents. They cannot be controlled by donors or by investment managers. They can't even be controlled by chancellors. Universities belong to us. They belong to the students, the staff, and the faculty that make them work. This is our university. Whose university is it?
Our university!
Our university.
Stay behind this way.
Our university is a space where we don't tell students what to think. We teach them how to think.
Yeah.
Our university is a space where peaceful demonstrations and protests like this encampment should be applauded, not shut down with police violence. The faculty stand behind your right to challenge the university to divest from companies that are profiting from the war on Palestine. We will not allow the new McCarthy's to equate criticism of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism. We will not allow them to criminalize non-violent protest. And we will not allow them to say that an encampment that has become a remarkable space of creativity and learning and mutuality is making our campus unsafe for anyone. The regents and the leaders of our campus say that universities have to remain institutionally neutral. Well, if they want institutional neutrality, they should start by divesting from the Israeli war machine. If they want institutional neutrality, they shouldn't allow our new chancellor, Richie Lyons, to get a third of his almost $1 million salary from unnamed private donors. Sorry, I just couldn't resist that one. When I was a student in the 1980s, long time ago, we organized to boycott and divest from apartheid South Africa. The people who controlled universities and their endowments told us that that could never happen. But we made it happen. Within a decade, apartheid was over. These steps and this campus are famous for insisting on the rights of free speech and peaceful protest. We as faculty are proud that you are continuing that tradition, and we stand here today in support of you. Thank you.
You know, it's a hot day, the sun is shining. I just want to thank everybody for being out here. We're learning things. Another quick note, if you want to get connected with FSJP, it is to the right, my right.
Not the
over
political
there.
right.
I was imprecise before. We've got some other representatives of organized labor on this campus to speak to us. Please help me welcome Khalid Qadir, a continuing lecturer and longtime member of UCAFT, the union representing lecturers and librarians.
So I told James when I was getting ready to get up here that I had 3 points. He was like, what? 3 points? You only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to talk fast. I'm mostly speaking to the faculty and graduate students out there, but this is hopefully relevant to everybody. Stop giving into fear and start using your voices and your bodies. If you're like the majority of us on this campus, then yes, I know you don't have the job security of a tenured faculty member. The result is that many feel afraid to say anything. And I want to say we must stop giving into that fear, and we must start using our voices and our bodies to fight for the liberation of Palestine. We see what's happening in Gaza, and we've been silent for far too long. We were silent for too long, and that's why this is happening in Gaza now. Too often we're silent because we're afraid. What's going to happen if I get up on Sproul and I shout Free Palestine? What might happen if I teach about it in my class? What might happen if I call a genocide a genocide? However, when we're silent, as we sit here quietly, the children of Gaza are screaming. Every 10 minutes, a child dies in Gaza. If you heard a child scream right here, wouldn't you do something? Or would you just pause and think about, well, what would that old white dean of mine say, you know, the one who's an asshole in the faculty meetings, might he complain about me intervening to stop this child from screaming? Of course you wouldn't. And yet here we are hesitating. We're pausing as children are screaming. What does that say about us? We're afraid we're going to suffer some minor consequence, like, oh, maybe I won't get a good promotion next time. Fuck your promotion. I say enough. Stop being afraid. Stop giving into fear, and stop using that as an excuse. Step into this fight with your voice and your body, and I promise you, you'll find out you have allies who you've never met. People will facilitate for you in ways you could not have imagined. I mean, just yesterday, I went to a print shop to print some stickers to push my union. We'll talk about that in a minute. Some free Palestine UCFT stickers. And the folks there were like, oh, this is about Palestine? We're going to do this one for free. You'll find friends you never even knew you had. To all of the educators here, my second point, teach Palestine. Put it in your syllabus before the semester starts. Relate it to the topic of your course. And some of you are probably wondering, well, how is it related? If you're in the humanities, this is a no-brainer. I mean, come on, just find some Palestinian authors and teach them, and then talk about the conditions they live in. If you're in the social sciences and you can't figure out how to incorporate Palestine into your class, you shouldn't be teaching at Berkeley. And of course, the elephant in the room, well, I teach physics. I teach math. How do I incorporate Palestine into physics and math? Teach the physics of a 2,000-pound bunker buster bomb and what happens when it's dropped on an urban population. You're a chemist? Teach the chemistry of white phosphorus and how it's made in Arkansas and dropped on children in Gaza. I could go on and on, but the point here is if you're stuck on how to do this in your course, I stand here to say I will personally volunteer to help you figure out how to integrate Palestine into your course. Just teach Palestine. Stop avoiding it. Stop being afraid of it. Stop silencing the 100 years of injustice. Teach Palestine and help us end this genocide and stop the next one. My final point, and this one's a little more personal, to my brothers and sisters in UCAFT, we have to overcome the Zionism and the fear of Zionism inside of our union. We are shamefully behind every other union on Palestine. We are literally the worst. At the national level, our leadership, Randy Weingarten, is a hardened Zionist. Very publicly, without apology, she shamefully echoes the talking points of the Zionist entity. She also donates our dues, your money, to supportive causes that support the genocide. Every month, you pay union dues. Half of those go to the national, and that national turns around and funnels them into campaigns of Genocidal Joe and others like him. We must change our national leadership, or we must delist from AFT. And I might add, maybe we could think about joining our brothers and sisters of UAW because they are holding it down. Thank you. But this is more than just a national issue. And this is where my friends are getting nervous. In November of last year, when the death toll in Gaza was an astonishing 11,000 people, it's 50,000 now. When it was 11,000 on this campus, we could not bring ourselves to put out a collective call for what? For ceasefire. We couldn't bring ourselves to say, put the fucking guns down, because we were too nervous. Not only that, but our state level leadership couldn't call for an unconditional ceasefire. Why? In part because we have Zionists among us, but in part because we're afraid. We're afraid people might leave our union. And if that happens, we're gonna lose our power. If we can't stand up against injustice and speak out in solidarity with the Palestinian people, then we have already lost our power. UCAFT, we need to overcome the Zionism within our ranks and the fear within our hearts. We need to recognize how our struggles and the struggle of the Palestinian people are intertwined. And we need to start standing up for justice and stop cowering in fear. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Thank you very much.
Next up, we got Connor Llewellyn, a graduate student researcher and member of the BDS Exploratory Committee of UAW Local 4811, the Union for Postdocs and Academic Researchers. Give it up, please.
Hello, everyone. As you just heard, I am a GSR, a graduate student researcher, and one of the members of our Boycott, Divest, and Sanction Exploratory Committee in UAW 4811. Now, I was asked to come here and speak in that regard as a member of the BDS EC, and I had initially planned to just focus on that, the UC's ties to the Zionist entity and people who profiteer off of the occupation. I was going to just say, you know, UAW 2865, the old graduate student union, was the first local union in the nation to support BDS before it was betrayed by a corrupt international in Detroit. I was going to say how our union was amongst the first in the nation to this year call for a unilateral ceasefire. And going to talk about how graduate students and postdocs here, feeling that calls for ceasefire not being enough, wanted to get out and actually do something to affect the material conditions of our university. We went out, we researched where our funding comes from, and eventually we decided that the union needed to be a part of this. So in the January meeting of our union, graduate students passed a unanimous resolution to create a BDS exploratory committee and find out how exactly the UC is tied to all this stuff. Money is. It's no more direct investments, though the UC does still have $2 million in Exxon and millions in weapons manufacturers. Most of the UC's tens of billions of money now lies in index funds. Funds that they'll say, oh, I can't do anything about. We don't control where the money goes. It just ends up in Lockheed Martin or Elbit. By digging into this, digging into the UC's two biggest funds, we found that the UC has over $3 billion invested in companies that are either weapons companies or otherwise directly profiteer off of Israeli occupation. And of course, the UC will say there's nothing that they can do about that because they can't get out of these index funds. They have $30 billion in one. So our BDS Exploratory Committee brought it forward to the members of our local union at Berkeley, and we overwhelmingly approved a demand that next year, members be given the opportunity to bargain over BDS in our contracts. And, you know, originally that was where I was going to kind of end this. We've been through this journey. We figured out where a lot of UC money is, though Berkeley Foundation doesn't reveal anything. It's like a fortress in there. We don't know where that endowment is. But being out here, hearing all these heartfelt tales of resistance, hearing about how our leaders have not only decided that people in Palestine don't deserve to live, but how anyone at college campuses saying that maybe a genocide shouldn't happen deserves to be beaten either by police or by random Zionists entering campus in the middle of the night. It doesn't feel right to just say, oh, anyway, the UC has money there. That's why I'm proud that my union is considering a strike authorization vote to deal with this next week. Woo! But if I may speak in a personal capacity, I think that we need to go further. Encampments need to be expanded. I know you guys are already doing so much, but please, we need you. We need to have workers out there arguing, and striking and stopping the UC, not only to secure the right of protesters, but to help further the demands of academic freedom and divestment. We need people out here saying, actually, Michael Drake, maybe don't support UCLA when they say they're going to call in the cops to bust an encampment. We need people out here. We need to shut it down. So that's my call to action for you. If you are a postdoc, AR, or graduate student, consider voting yes on the SAV next week. And beyond that, do whatever is in your power to shut it down. Free Palestine, free the protesters, and take back the UC.
Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest.
Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest. Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest. Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest.
All right, thank you. Just have 2 more speaking sessions for y'all. Thank you for bearing with us. Please hang out a little bit more. And help me welcome our next speakers, Joe Joseph and Molly Shepard, staff members in the Haas School of Business.
Thank you. Hello, party people. God, y'all are beautiful in the sunshine. I'm Molly Shepard. I've been with the Haas School of Business for the last 5 years. For the 5 years before that, I was with Emory University. Yeah. So today, I want to speak to fellow staff members. There's been no unrepresented staff member up here. I am unrepresented. That means I'm an independent agent, and so are you if you are unrepresented. So I am here to remind you that we have a commitment to DEIJB. We sign statements. We have our Achieve conversations in which we have to say what we have done for DEIJB on this campus, for anti-racism on this campus. And this is what we are doing for anti-racism on this campus. You know, yes, that's right. And it's an honor to be among these students and faculty today and fellow staff members. Our Chancellor-elect, Rich Lyons, was the one who developed the defining leadership principles at the Haas School of Business. So I'm going to tie in our work today with that. Question the status quo. In the words of another enemy of the state, Nelson Mandela, it seems impossible until it's done. So I invite you to end your silence. Number 1, question your leaders, question each other, question the status quo. Be students always. Study about how white supremacy and Zionism are interconnected, okay? And it's okay to study that with love and with curiosity and with humility, with that confidence without attitude. Have confidence that you are on the right side of history. And do not be arrogant enough to think that you're done learning today. And then, of course, beyond yourself. Go beyond yourself. I am not here for me today. I'm fine. I am melanin deficient and kind of hard to fire, I hope. I am here for our students today. And when you speak out, for every Zionist you piss off, someone is going to thank you. You're going to make new friends. And to my colleague's point, you will find people to support you that you never expected to meet. And with that, I'll introduce my co-conspirator and friend, Joe Joseph.
Thanks, Molly. So, my responsibility right now is to talk to y'all about what we expect and what the people of Palestine expect all of us to do beyond this rally. Because this rally isn't enough. We need to be shutting it down, and we need to do so now. So what can we do, right? Well, I'm reminded of this phrase, people united can never be defeated. But what does that actually mean? It means that we can achieve victory, but in order to do so, we must be united. We need to act in accordance with the central question that this encampment poses. Who does this university truly serve?
I'm looking at y'all, my fellow staff members. We are the employees that uphold and operate this institution. So we have a decision to make. Will we be cogs in a genocidal machine, or will we be part of the broader collective making history at this very moment? Hopelessness is a symptom of isolation. United, we as staff and faculty do have the power to escalate the demands of this encampment and effect material change. What does this look like? We are asking every single person here to do 3 things, among many others. 1, visibly support the encampment. End your silence, both with your physical presence and your advocacy. With your donations and your attention, with your whole heart and your mind and your soul and your body. 2, join faculty and staff for justice in Palestine. There are not enough of us involved in this group. You can talk to my colleagues over at the table over there. Now is the time. Do not wait any longer. Follow in the footsteps of Palestinians and our students. Reject the notion that we are powerless, because it is not true. And 3rd, get connected with actions that are already happening in the Bay Area. We are privileged to live in a community that extends beyond UC Berkeley. How many of y'all am I gonna see at the Oakland port today to shut it down for May Day? If you have any doubts about collective power, I urge you to come out to the port today as we literally use our bodies to force the American economy to grind to a halt. Because we know that our silence will not protect us, but our collective voice and our collective bodies will. Because why? Because the people united will never be defeated. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Before I introduce our last speaker for today, I just want to say that it's wonderful to be out here in community with all of you and to thank all of my colleagues that have already spoken today. Let's give it up for all the previous speakers. And now to round things out, somebody who's well known to y'all by now probably, my colleague Hazem Bazian, a continuing lecturer in ethnic studies and Middle Eastern languages and cultures. Please help me welcome him.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. I want to begin first by actually recognizing our elder, Ahmad Ayesh, known as Abu Basim. He's 96 years old. Born in the city of Al-Bira in Palestine. He lived through the Nakba as a young college student in Palestine. And he has been coming out for every protest, for every mobilization, for every engagement for Palestine in here as long as I can remember. So this is history here in front of us. Now I want today to speak on 5 words, and then I'm going to add a 6 at the end. 1 is genocide. 2nd, complicity. 3rd, cowardice. 4th, opportunism. 5th, courage. Let me go through the first one. We're here because we're witnessing a genocide in front of our eyes. This is the most covered live stream genocide in human history. There is no evidence to be collected because the evidence is being live streamed. So when the State Department person stand there, I never seen so many people with high-level degrees that speak for 1 hour without actually saying a sentence of importance. So we're dealing with a genocide. And all the people that are speaking and trying to tell us not to speak of genocide are, in essence, covering up for the genocide that is taking place. Palestinians have experienced genocide from the time of Ahmed Aish until today. Genocide did not begin the last 7 months. It began actually in 1917 when the British arrived in Palestine, continued in 48, continued in 67, continued every time until side to the Palestinians' experience. Second word, complicity. Complicity. Our political elites, our media talking heads, our mainstream civil society leadership are all complicit in the genocide. When you sent $26 billion to Israel last week, you have lost the ability to speak as a neutral person. When you try to censor students on campus, you lost the opportunity to be neutral. When you call the assault on students at UCLA as clashes, you lost the ability to be neutral. Complicity in genocide. Cowardice. Cowardice. There is a category of people, as soon as they get a seat that they are hired to sit on, they lose the important element of the human being, which is a backbone. I know we could come into an AI-generated backbone, but I know it's helpless in that. Cowardice of those who are sitting in the chancellor offices. Cowardice of regents. Cowardice of the presidents of Harvard. Cowardice of the presidents of MIT. Cowardice of Penn State. And let me say, cowardice of the president of Columbia University. She thought, and I'm giving her what you call the possibility of she thought, right? Not because she's a woman, but because she thought after going to Congress, she's gonna come back, call the police on the students, they beat up the students, and then she'll be celebrated as the tough leader she is. Thank you for launching the student movement because of your cowardice at the moment that needed to be made victims. Cowardice. Now I want to speak about opportunism. I have seen so many people that write about post-colonialism. I saw a lot of people that speak and write about decolonial thought. I saw a lot of people that write and speak about human rights, international law, and all that is in between. But the thing is, we don't find any one of them standing and speaking for Palestine. Now we need to understand there's a long history of commodifying pain and suffering of people in order to move up in the ladder of nothingness until you become nothing because you lose the moral, ethical grounds that you have. So we need to challenge the opportunism of commodifying pain and suffering of people. Not only Palestinians, but Black Lives Matter, our Latino brother and sister, Asian Americans, Native Americans. And also we need to add our white brothers and sisters, working class, because they are positive to strike against one another, and therefore they're commodified to actually think that they're actually being on the right side of history if they are next to Trump or Biden. We need to actually speak of this opportunism that is in front of us. The fifth word, courage. What we're seeing in here is courage. What we're seeing with the students is courage. What we're seeing with the faculty and staff is courage. What we're seeing in UCLA is courage. What we're seeing in Boston is courage. What we're seeing in University is courage. What we're seeing is the courage of the young. What we're seeing is the courage of the young, because the young make history. The young are no longer, the young don't think about their mortgage. The young are not shackled by debt. The young no longer are able to think whether my boss is gonna fire me. Young always change and make history. That is courage, and we need to celebrate courage. Now, I know this morning I listened to CNN. I'm sorry, I need to recover. Right? They're saying they're agitator from outside coming to the university. So if you're an alumni coming to the university, you're an agitator. But if you're a big donor, you're not an agitator, because you have the direct phone to the chancellor and the president. This is a long game of deflecting the reality of what's taking place. This university does not have a wall between the university and the community. The community is the university, and the university is the community. Don't allow them to stop the relationship, to think that the students are different than the community. We come from the community, and the community is us. Now, I said 5 words, and I wanted to add a 6th. In San Francisco State, in the 1980s, there was a plaza that was in the center of the campus. And in mode of resistance at the time, we called it, the students, Malcolm X Plaza. And the university resisted for the name to be Malcolm X Plaza. Today, the official name of the plaza is Malcolm X Plaza. The student building was named the Student Union Building. The student protested, mobilized, and began to actually put signs, Cesar Chavez Building. Cesar Chavez Building. Today, the building at San Francisco State University is called Cesar Chavez Student Union. So I'm proposing for you today, for our conversation, that this is Palestine Plaza. And I know some in the highs up in the university and some in our positions are gonna go to therapists, and I know they're gonna be perplexed because there's no such thing as Palestine. Let me tell you, if you say it, it will happen. If you say it, you can actualize it. If you say it, you make it the reality. The reality, I say, for us to claim this space as Palestine Plaza. If the land does not exist today in the United Nations, well, the United Nations have to come up to date and call the United Nations in here Palestine Plaza, because Palestine will be free regardless of your obfuscation. Free Palestine, free Palestine Plaza.
Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Please give it up one more time for all of our speakers today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Inshallah ta'ala, all of you have the energy for one more set of chants.
Yeah!
Before we do that, we must center ourselves and while we're all out here. If you all remember the beginning of my speech earlier, I mentioned Hind Rajab, the 6-year-old who was martyred on January 29th. As we look at our comrades at Columbia University, recently they renamed one of the buildings, Hamilton Hall, I believe, to Hind Hall. And this is a reminder that this is not Sprout Plaza. This is not Sprout Hall. This is the Free Palestine Encampment Hall. These are not the Mario Savio steps. These are the Gaza Encampment steps. That is not Sadr Gate. That is Free Palestine gates. We must remind ourselves that this is not California's university. This is the people's university. Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary.
A revolutionary.
I am
A
revolutionary.
A revolutionary.
I am
A
revolutionary.
revolutionary.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Y'all gotta be louder than that. We gotta make sure the Zionists hear us, the feds hear us, everyone on campus gotta hear us. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
From you can't hide.
Terrorize, you can't hide.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
Hey, ho, ho. Cut the fifth, you got to go.
Hey, ho, ho. Cal Christian, you got to go.
Hey, ho, ho. Captain Fisk, you got to go.
Hey, ho, ho. Captain Fisk, you got to go.
Viva, viva, viva.
Viva, viva, viva.
La lucha Palestina.
La lucha Palestina.
الحرية لفلسطين.
الحرية لفلسطين.
No, what is really nice. الحرية لفلسطين.
الحرية لفلسطين.
Freedom for Palestine.
Freedom for Palestine.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
The occupation has got to fall.
The occupation has got to fall.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
I have one more set of chance. To do so, I need to explain something. Inshallah, some of you are watch soccer or football. You all might be aware of the soccer teams in North London, Arsenal and Tottenham. North London? I don't know about that. Point being, Arsenal has a chant for the Tottenham supporters. I'll say it, and inshallah we'll repeat it. We'll make it related to our movements. But the chant goes, what do we think of Tottenham?
Shit!
Y'all know what's up? Y'all know what's up? What do we think of shit? I'm sorry in advance. I know this is supposed to be a faculty, and there's a lot of old people, there's a lot of Muslims. I apologize in advance, but this is a movement for the youth. What do we think of Israel?
Shit!
What do we think of shit?
Israel!
What do we think of Zionism?
Shit!
What do we think of shit?
Zionism!
Free Palestine!
Free